I think the job of a director is to be the lens through which other people's input is focused. And so my job really is to have a clear point of view and a sincere point of view, and things that I take pleasure in, things that I don't like, things that make me uncomfortable, whatever that is. As far as that input goes, you're trying to focus it in a coherent manner. And that's where the personality of the director is important.
Where are we going? Dunkirk.
Well, Chris is very fascinated by time. It seems to me all his films play with time very imaginatively and creatively. And again here, he has told the story by focusing on three groups who are experiencing the events of Dunkirk, around the beach of Dunkirk, in different time frames.
Chris has pieced this together with great intricacy. Actually, he's pieced it together with three separate perspectives. One being on the water, which I'm part of. One being on the beach, and one being from the air.
His grasp of how to deal with the different concepts of time is I think unparalleled. That guy, and I think it's quite apt for a film like this, because I think what's most amazing about Dunkirk, and the bit that you don't really get taught about, is the frustration at the lack of information on the beach. You know, and we were talking about this the other day, someone said the closest any of us have ever come to that is when you're in an airport and you get no information, and you can understand that was probably one of the worst things about being on that beach that day, was the constant confusion and the lack of information.
From the first shot, you're kind of taken base level with the soldiers and you're kind of following them the whole way. It's almost like you're playing catch-up with them, so it's a real kind of trying to throw you into the action, as opposed to big bird's-eye shots of the whole beach and cutting to rooms with generals pushing people around on a table and all of that.
You can practically see it from here.
What?
Home.
It never really feels like there's a hero at any point. I think it's much more the emotional side of war, and obviously it's not all guns blazing and we're going to go win this thing. It's very much an emotional journey of people retreating and just kind of accepting that they've lost almost and just trying to survive. And, you know, it's the civilians who are obviously doing the saving, not the soldiers.
This is a story about a bunch of people who can't get home. It could be a Greek tragedy. There are very, old elements: a beach, an ocean, an enemy, and home, and the longing to get home, and then miraculously, fathers and brothers and friends coming on little boats and helping you get home.
The call went out. We have to go to Dunkirk. Ready on the stern line.
What are you doing? You know where we're going?
Into war, George.
I think when he picks up Finn on the beach at the start, it doesn't feel like this massive arrival shot. It kind of feels like it could have picked up any one soldier on the beach, and, it makes the story hit so much harder because you realise it's happening to thousands of men. This is just a kind of an intimate zoom in, and I think the way that you go along with the story, you feel like you're running alongside Finn, and you feel like you're swimming alongside these characters, and it just makes you. Watching it, I didn't feel like I was watching a screen and a film. I felt like I was kind of engulfed within the whole thing.
You're looking at their physical situation. You're looking at the task they're faced with physically, and you don't want to be in that position. The film is dragging you into an empathetic relationship with them through the openness of their expressions and the genuineness of their reactions. And you are being dragged along on their journey. You don't particularly want to be there. You want them to succeed by virtue of the fact that you are empathizing with another human being.
The characters are kind of supposed to just represent the everyman, even down to the name of the characters. Like, I'm Tommy, he's Alex. Tommy literally means like a Tommy on the beach, like the English word for the soldiers. And Alex is just kind of means nothing in particular, but it's just kind of a generic. He used very generic names on purpose. I think there was no. It's far less for him. It was much more about the scope of the whole thing than it was about the characters in the writing. And I think he left the actual characters to us as individuals. So I think when it came to the script and the story in general, We were obviously thinking about our own characters much more because there's so much less to base it on in the script.
You know, realistically, you wouldn't have been having these long conversations kind of during these situations. And I think it kind of, everything that was being said felt like it needed to be said, and it obviously kind of means so much more when it kind of delivers. And I think what it meant that when we were filming, we got to kind of watch the script come alive, and you saw the little looks across the room and bits of tension that weren't in the script. And, you know, just those little kind of tender moments are a lot of, you know, we kind of got to watch it grow kind of in front of our eyes almost.
I like the way that he leaves quite a lot of room for the audience to be creative. You have to meet him halfway. He's not going to answer everything for you. Someone like Steven Spielberg is so keen that you'll like and understand the story as well, that his films are very clear to follow. Makes some wonderful films, don't get me wrong. But Chris has that lovely thing of a story that you don't know where it's going, and then it becomes clear, and then again you don't know where it's going and becomes clear. And that's a very real aspect of life as well, at least my life. That one's often very confused, and then you have moments of clarity, and then it's confusing again.
One of ours?
Everything you see in this film, Chris was, about 3 feet from the actor. And he does it very purposely. He's the only one with a monitor as well, and it means that you shoot very quickly. It's fantastic. It's a great way of shooting. There's not as much waiting around. And also, I mean, he is incredibly hands-on. There's a lot of movement, particularly speaking as one of the pilots in the cockpit, the movement of the cockpit when we were on the gimbal.
I'm on him.
That's Chris. The movement when we're panning left and right in that plane. That's Chris moving. So he quite literally is a filmmaker. I mean, I'm surprised the guy's hands aren't in some of his rushes.
He's never in a tent 3 miles away on a radio giving you directions. He's right next to Hoyter, the DOP, with his little monitor. And, if he wants to give you a direction, he'll just speak at this volume, and he's there. He's completely immersed in it, which shows his passion for filmmaking and just how much it means to him.
What happens in front of the camera actually happens in front of the camera, and that's a little easier than everything being blue screened or CGI'd afterwards. I think it's a little more convincing too, and authentic, if that's the right word. But it's certainly nicer for us as actors. It takes a little longer you have to wait longer for things to be set up, but as Jack Nicholson says, they don't pay you to act, they pay you to wait. I remember particularly Spitfires flying over my head, not much higher than that ceiling. That was very loud and exciting and surprising when they come from behind you.
There were a couple of times where it got really close. And these really skilled pilots doing all of that sort of stuff. All the explosions were happening, smoke billowing, the lads in the water, huge infernos, and it was all there. You didn't have to imagine anything.
You're surrounded by stuntmen who, are incredible, and you're told that they're special forces and things like that. And as soon as I'm told something like that, I'm very good at giving myself over to people. I'm very good at feeling safe. If you tell me that you've been doing this for 30, 40 years, you know better than me, so I feel safe. And that was very important in this film. So I'd be lying if I said it wasn't just constantly exciting. It was very exciting, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
It'd be really difficult to do a film like this and not take a little piece of it with you. It was, I think everyone on set kind of felt like we were telling a very special story, and obviously where we made it, we were kind of, you could feel the history kind of around you, and I think everyone was aware that we were telling a story that isn't told that much, and maybe not to the importance that it obviously holds in history. So I think, I think we all felt like we were trying to make something special.